Yeah.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Natalie, and welcome to our Basecamp Barn Project. In this episode, we're going to travel north and go visit Glacier National Park.
We're also going to start on the power supply to this project here.
So let's go exploring.
And let's have some fun on the way to Glacier.
As you may know, we bought property here in Montrose, Colorado to be our base camp for expeditions around the western United States.
And although this trip to Glacier was planned well before Basecamp Montrose was even an idea, it's a great example of why we're here.
We're kind of on hold. We had a meeting with DMEA, our local power co-op here, before we left.
Yeah, they wanted to schedule our power meter installation at the same time as resetting the transformer that had sunk during the flood.
It was going to take a few weeks for all that to happen.
Which luckily the waiting period coincided with our trip to Glacier.
As long as we could get a little business done while we were out traveling, we could enjoy ourselves.
And we did. Our electrician installed our 200 amp service panel and got it inspected by the state while we were driving to Red Lodge, Montana. We needed that completed work before DMEA would come out and hook us up.
So that worked out well.
Yeah. First, we need to repair our windshield. Last episode, on our way to this overnight camp spot here in Rawlins, Wyoming, we got a rock chip. You need to repair those type of chips ASAP before they start to spider on you. It's a little awkward working on top of the motor like this, but it'll have to do. And that's another reason I decided to do this in the morning, because the motor had cooled off overnight. I've used this type of windshield repair kit before. It has a syringe that creates a vacuum that really sucks the glue into the chip area. It's sometimes a little messy, but it's a pretty easy cleanup, and it really does stabilize that chip. We shouldn't have any problems with this going forward. Once that was completed and cleaned up, we got back on the road. Today we're heading to Cody, Wyoming. It's a beautiful day, and look at those mountains in the distance. We're taking back roads. Most of them main highways, but not interstate freeways. They're usually pretty nice 2 lanes with the occasional passing lane. We like it because there's usually not much traffic on these roads, and they always have something interesting to see. We're driving on State Route 20. We just passed Riverton and we're heading to Thermopolis. It'll be about a 250-mile day. We're passing through Boise State Park, another hidden gem. Yep, put it on the list. Just another place we have to come back and visit someday. Thermopolis looked like a larger version of the many agriculture towns we drove through. Hot Springs State Park, just north of town, was on our list of possible overnight stops. But not today. We're pushing on. This town is where we turn left onto State Route 120 on our way to Cody. Well, we made it to Cody. We're here. And what a cool drive into town. Cody was named by Colonel William F. Cody, Buffalo Bill, who developed this town in the mid-1890s. It's located a short 52 miles from Yellowstone National Park's east entrance. We plan to spend a couple days here to give us time to explore the northeastern side of Yellowstone. We're staying at the Ponderosa RV campground. It had only just opened a couple days earlier. The next day, we drove into Yellowstone. What a great day for a drive. The weather was perfect. At the Fishing Bridge Visitor Center, we discovered that the road to Tower Roosevelt was still closed for the season. Darn! Road closures were to become a theme for this trip. So we regrouped and found an open picnic area next to Lake Yellowstone and enjoyed some lunch with a view. We liked it so much we made a camp cook video about it. The link is in the description below. After a fantastic lunch, we drove around a little bit and stopped at the mud volcano area to see some geothermal activity. The next day dawned overcast and wet, a sharp contrast to our splendid day yesterday. We finished our pre-drive checklist and headed out. Checklists are a good thing to have. You don't want to forget something important. Be safe, not sorry. Red Lodge was our goal today, Montana. Today's drive was unusually short, only about 60 miles. The Montana state line was our first stop. State lines are always a good opportunity to get some pictures. Shortly before entering town, we found a scenic overlook. The clouds hung low, but we had some time to kill. Once we settled into our camp spots, I started dinner. A nice rack of baby back ribs, perfect for a cool rainy afternoon. Our main objective was to drive over the Beartooth Highway. Red Lodge sits at the northern end of that road. Unfortunately, the pass was still closed due to snow at the summit. That's closed road number 2 on this trip. So what to do? We drove the long way around. Dead Indian Highway was open, and the first pass had an awesome overlook. Then we crossed over a deep gorge. It was the Clark's Fork River. In 1990, Congress designated a 20.5-mile long, half-mile wide section of the Clark's Fork River as Wyoming's first national wild and scenic river. It was gorgeous. Finally, we made it to the Top of the World store. Top of the World store sits at 9,400 feet. It was originally built on Beartooth Lake, but moved to its present location on the highway in the early 60s. It's fun to get souvenirs from these unusual places. We drove as far as we could until we found the end of the road, and then it started snowing. So we headed back to camp to settle in for another rainy night. The next day, we drove about 350 miles towards Missoula, Montana. We overnighted at Beavertail Hill State Park. Nothing too fancy here, but they did have a coin-operated firewood dispensing machine. Pretty cool.
From shoot until wood is dispensed.
Oh, wow. It's going to dispense.
$1 and $5.
And you see, you got to get tokens.
Okay, so we buy the tokens first.
Yeah.
Dispense dollar tokens only.
The next morning, we headed to Glacier. Glacier. We made it. Our camp spot was in Big Creek, a national forest campground just outside the borders of Glacier National Park. It's on the west side of the North Fork Flathead River. The Camas Creek entrance to Glacier was only a mile or so up the gravel road. Really, we can't get much better than this. Next episode, we'll tour around Glacier and hit Coeur d'Alene, Idaho on our way back to Colorado. See you next time.